5, huh? Karla took a small boombox out of her cloth shopping bag and sat on the floor across the room. Kirk remained standing. Karla rested her head on the wall and said, "Yeah, 2 years ago. I woke up in 1965. I was in my great-grandmother's house. She was much younger. My great-grandfather was still alive and younger. And I met my maternal grandmother, Cheryl Carlson, for the first time in my life. She was 16. Karla paused for a moment. Jason waited for more. "Cheryl died before I was born. Grandpa had come up to me recently and said I looked just like Cheryl did at my age." Karla looked intently at Jason. "You are one of the very few people I have told about this." She paused again. "Since you've trusted me with your story, I'm trusting you with mine. If you tell this to others or tell people I'm crazy, you understand that I can do the same with you." She was laying out a contract. Kirk was probably serving as witness. Jason nodded and said, "You've got a deal. I guess we got to trust each other on this one." Karla nodded and rested her head against the wall again, looking out the window. "I was there for a week." "A whole friggin' week? How could you stand it? How did you keep from going crazy?" "It was great." Her eyes softened. "After I got over the initial shock, it was the greatest week of my life. It was like a vacation." "I couldn't wait for it to be over. I thought I'd flipped out. One day was all I could stand." "Sometimes I wish I could go back there." "Why?" "It was so different from what I knew before. The music was different. People were different. And Cheryl was awesome. I'd never met anyone like her. She thought I was a cousin. She and I were twins for that week. We dressed alike. We went to school, same high school I went to. It was different then, too. South Addition wasn't there. The lunchroom was in the basement, and an old brick building stood where the Fine Arts Center was supposed to be." "I can relate to that," Jason said. "The Twin Towers were missing." Karla gave him a puzzled frown. "Wouldn't they have been still almost brand new back then? That was before the planes ran into them." "Oh, no, Jason replied, understanding Karla's confusion. "Not the World Trade Center. I mean the student housing high-rise buildings. They weren't there." Oh, okay. Those two towers. Let's see. Okay. Kirk chimed in. "Sounds like you're talking about the second Lord of the Rings movie." Jason and Karla both looked at Kirk. "You know, the two towers," Kirk said with a grin. "Roberts brings the Lord of the Rings into everything," Jason groaned to Karla. "He told me I sounded like that whoever it is in one of those little midgets the next morning." "Samwise Gamgee," Kirk added. "Why?" Karla asked Kirk. "Oh, because I said something about the end of the world in my sleep," Jason answered for Kirk, who was chuckling in his usual way. "So you spent a week with a dead relative when she was only 16, Karla answered. "Wasn't that awfully weird?" "It should have been, but it wasn't. I had a calm about the whole thing the whole time." "Okay. I sure didn't. Well, at times I was okay, I guess." "I miss her. What I wouldn't give to see her again. I'd love to hang out with her again, talk over Beatles records again. Hear her call me a dingaling just one more time." "Dingaling." Karla shifted her eyes in Kirk's direction. "Nice try, Spidey, but it's not quite the same. No offense." "None taken."
Hi, my name is Mike Kalmbach. I'll be reading from my debut novel, The Colorian Conflict. It was published 2 years ago, but I really enjoy it. So here we go. "Thank you for coming, Brother Mendel." Father Ramsey's voice pulled Mendel away from his thoughts. "I need your help." Mendel bowed his head. "How may I serve?" "A prisoner is slated for execution tomorrow. 2 priests have tried and failed to help him come to terms with his death. A new strategy is needed." Ramsey adjusted his glasses. "Perhaps you can help the man find peace. Will you do this?" Mendel bit his lip. "I know it's a necessary job, but I hate assisting with executions. Every time I feel like I'm the one holding the rope or swinging the axe. Even when it's deserved, the whole thing feels distasteful." "Yes, Father. What is his crime?" Ramsey cleared his throat. "Piracy." "A pirate? Surely death is a just reward for that crime. Why should we care about his inner peace?" Ramsey fixed a stern gaze on the monk. "Mendel, What is the first lesson learned by those who follow Lord Justice? Mendel sighed. Justice can only be served by considering each individual circumstances. Use the guidance of other gods to choose the right path. Very good, Ramsay settled in his chair. In this case, I think Lady Mercy is an appropriate guide. Show compassion for this man accused of piracy and see what you learn from the experience. I should note that this is again, a fantasy novel. It is not, when I say monk, this is not the traditional Christian God that many may associate with that. So the second second reading comes from about the middle of the way through the book. Sam raised his head. Does Caldwell know I'm dying? No, it wasn't my place to tell him, Mendel said. But he does need to know. You should prepare him. Laying his supplies on a small table, he gestured to a chair. Please sit. Sam sighed, but obeyed. You cannot understand. That may be, Mendel said. Still, you should prepare him to take command when you are gone. Tap, tap, tap. Sam bounced his crutch on the floor, his face impassive as he eyed the monk. The monk shivered, unsettled by the tap of the crutch and Sam's stare, but he tried to hide it. What is he thinking, Mendel wondered. All right, I'm going to stop there. For this, the last reading comes from about 2/3 of the way through the book. Sorry. Thank you again for your fast work in getting the supplies to the dock, Jason said to the novices as the group approached the abbey. I apologize. Yes. I'm only too glad no one was actually injured in the explosion. Just a military exercise. Please return the supplies to the infirmary, and I'll check up on you later. The novices bowed. We live to serve, they said as one. They moved towards the abbey's main entrance, their arms full of clothing and healing supplies. This way, Jason said to Mendel and the others after the novices were safely inside. He led them to the side of the abbey. The servants' entrance? Mendel asked. This hasn't been used in ages. I know, Jason said. He smiled and produced a key from within his robes. This way we should not be interrupted by mourners visiting the ceremony for Father Ramsay. The key grated in the lock, but a moment later, the door swung open. Come on, Jason urged, gesturing for the men to come inside. You may speak in here, but keep your voices low. We don't need anyone checking on us. Several unlit torches stood just inside the entrance. Jason took one, reached inside his robe, and pulled out a small tool. Squeezing the ends of the tool together, sparks came off and landed on the torch. Jason blew softly to coax out a flame. This was built before we banned the use of slaves in the Calderian abbeys, Jason said as they walked through the musty hallways. They parallel the main halls, but no one uses them anymore. Mostly forgotten, really. I encouraged Father Ramsay to knock down the walls so we could expand the hallways, but he often said it's better to preserve our history so we never forget our mistakes. Mistakes? McGuire asked from behind him. There's a lot of wealth to be made in selling slaves. Jason and Mendel stopped. They turned to look at the pirate captain. The torchlight cast flickering shadows over McGuire's face. So I hear, that is, McGuire said. Not that I know personally.